I cannot tell you how excited I am for this game. We had the Kirby Air Ride Direct earlier this morning. 45 minutes of Sakurai just talking about Kirby Air Riders. And I'm just buzzing about it. I think it looks fantastic. So I loved the original Kirby Air Ride growing up, even now. I loved going through City Trial. That's the one everyone talks about. It was super fun to explore, get power-ups, just look at all the little secrets. And the tracks were always so atmospheric. The music was insane. Like, and for a GameCube game, it just looked so beautiful. I didn't understand Top Right at all when I was younger. I loved unlocking all the different colors of like Kirby's, getting all the machines, getting all the check boxes. It was a very unorthodox racing game. Sakurai kind of touches on this in the Direct from what I remember, but the focus of Kirby Air Ride was never really about the racing the way like Mario Kart is about the racing. It's really about taking in all the different systems and just kind of learning everything and trying to beat the different tracks with the different machines and trying to experience all the events in City Trial. And like it's more of an experience than just a normal racing game. But the game definitely does have problems. I think that people that play the game as an adult or like, you know, slightly older than a child definitely have more issues with the game, which I think is very fair. There's some weird stuff like the character selection. It's basically just Kirby, and then you can play Meta Knight and Dedede, but they can't pick any of the machines. They just have one set machine. Meta Knight doesn't even get a machine, and they can't use the copy abilities, so they can't even interact with like half of the game's systems. The game was a little simple. There wasn't really like a ton going on. There was enough, you know, you have the different copy abilities and enemies and you can hit each other. But that's kind of it. City Trial sometimes had the issue where, you know, you're getting all the different abilities and stuff and getting all the power-ups. And at the very end, you do the stadium event. But you don't know what it is, so you don't actually really know what you're working towards. You could be building up Glide the entire time and get on the Glide Star or whatever, and then at the very end it could be a drag race, and then your 5 minutes was just completely wasted. Which, you know, that was part of the charm too, I guess. Top Ride actually is perfect. That's what I've realized as an adult. But the game is great, but it definitely is kind of like a starting off point, you know? I always thought, even when I was younger, that a second Kirby Air Ride game would really be able to take all the cool ideas that were in the first one and just really run with it. Make something really, really good. They don't even need to add a bunch of new stuff. They just need to refine what's already there because there's so many great ideas. It's full of charm and personality and quirkiness, and the original game is great. Just needed a little bit more. And watching this Direct, it felt like everything that I wanted was coming true. Kirby Air Riders is everything I could have wanted. It's basically more of the same, but just perfectly refined and expanded upon. To start, the game looks beautiful. It's an HD game, and it very much has the same kind of art direction as Smash Bros. Ultimate, which I also think looks really good. But yeah, the game looks beautiful, just like the GameCube one. Just really stunning to look at. And then, way bigger roster of characters, which I think most of us were expecting there to be. But you got Kirby, you got Dedede, you got Meta Knight, but then you got Bandana D, you know, always kind of gets included. You have Chef Kawasaki, who I popped off when I saw Chef Kawasaki. I was like, that's a great pick. Waddle Doo, Knuckle Joe, Gooey, you know, they're getting some of the like Kirby enemies in there. Cappy, the little mushroom. Starman. I didn't even know the names of some of these guys before this presentation, but now they're my favorite things in the whole world. You got Magalore and Susie. I love Magalore. I'm partial to Susie, or impartial to Susie, I guess. But I know a lot of people really like Susie. Lots of cool character choices here. I really am excited to play as like Starman in particular. I think that's really funny. And they can all use the copy abilities, and they can all use the machines. So you don't have that weird thing where if you want to play as Meta Knight or King Dedede, you're just locked out of some of the mechanics. You get to interact with the mechanics with every single character, and that's awesome. And every character has a new special ability. Sakurai made the whole joke about, like, oh, regrettably, we have to add another button, because Kirby Air Ride famously was like a one-button racing game. Now it's a two-button racing game. but it adds more personality to the characters, which I think is really great. Adds a little bit more complexity, because that's the thing. The racing only needed a little bit more complexity, and I think adding in unique abilities for the characters is great, because then you still have all of the different machines, all with their different attributes, which was one of the best parts of the original Kirby Air Ride, was that the machines all controlled so differently. You know, something like Mario Kart, or any racing game really, for the most part, the vehicles are just the same thing on a wide spectrum. It's not that they can't feel different, it's that they're intentionally designed to control the same. Kirby Air Ride is not like that. Some of those vehicles can't even glide, some of them can't boost, some of them can't move without boosting, some of them are almost impossible to control. Swerve Star can't even steer. That was always my favorite. And obviously that's here in full effect. A lot of the previous machines from the original Kirby Air Ride are back, plus they have the new ones. I can't remember, I think they were like a chariot class, but it looks like they're adding in certain machines to help with like steering, making steering easier, which is probably good for newer players. But yeah, it's so cool that they're just fully running with it, you know. Love that they're just keeping the weird machines, all with their different controls. You know, some of them are like not even good in the original, almost intentionally so, and I really hope that they keep that. To start off with, they have Air Ride mode, which is the traditional racing mode, and it looks just as good as ever. The tracks look gorgeous. I don't remember the one Sakurai was racing on. Waveflow Waters was the name. It looked beautiful. It's an HD system, and seeing Kirby Air Ride on a system that can handle beautiful HD graphics, it was bringing a tear to my eye. Like, it just looked so amazing. And the original Kirby Air Ride also looked phenomenal, so very much in line with that game. But everything that we saw looked so beautiful. And Air Ride further was expanding upon the mechanics of, like, you always want to be hitting people, you go faster. It looks like you can get little stars to speed yourself up even when you hit people. The game is very aggressive. Everything's really tightly packed, which is why I think they stuck with just 6 racers, because the original game had 4 people in Air Ride. It makes sense to me that they only went up to 6, because newer racing games, you gotta have more than 4 people. But the tracks are pretty intentionally designed to be pretty tight. Everyone's supposed to be bumping into each other. It's not like Mario Kart, where you have a little bit more room to maneuver, especially Mario Kart World. Like, 24 players in Kirby Air Ride's Air Ride mode would just not work. Even 12 players wouldn't work. I think 6 players is a great amount. It adds in a lot of chaos, but you can still, you know what's going on. But obviously, what everyone's going to be talking about is City Trial. In the original game, I always loved City Trial. I think that people overblow how cool it is a little bit. It was kind of more cool in concept than anything else. But honestly, the couple of small changes they made to City Trial in this game, I think really kind of bring it together. Okay, so to start, there's a new map. It's called Skya. It very much is kind of based on the original City Trial map. Has the big city area, has a little plains area, has like a volcano and stuff. Like, it very much is inspired by the original map, but it's a little bit bigger. I can't help but be a little bit disappointed that it's just the one map. I was kind of hoping that there'd maybe be like 2 or 3, or maybe one of the maps would be the original map, but that was kind of like wishful thinking, you know? I feel like one map, perfectly fine. The original game was great with just the one map, and this one's way bigger, which is great because there's now 16 players in City Trial, which is awesome. I think it's really cool that they increased the player amount in City Trial specifically, and then at the end they kind of divvy you up based on how many people are playing and different votes and stuff, which I'll get into. But yeah, City Trial looks great. They have tons of great new hazards, like in addition to Dino Blades sometimes showing up, now Krakow can show up, which I think is really cool. They have like the Gordos falling from the sky, the power-ups getting really big. Like, I love the different events, and I like that they're really just going hog wild with that, and they're always really funny, just whenever those pop up. Some of the events also like really encourage interaction, which I think covers one of the biggest weaknesses of City Trial, which was sometimes you just don't see the other players very much. You kind of just are driving around and Maybe you'll run into them. You can kind of hunt people down if you want. But for the most part, you don't really need to interact with people. You're not really incentivized to do so. But they had the 2 different events, one where you're racing everyone and one where you're fighting each other. And if you go in and do those, even if you lose, you don't really lose any stats. Your machine doesn't break. But if you win, you get a bunch of stats. So it kind of forces everyone. Well, it doesn't force everyone. It allows everyone to go compete with each other in the middle of City Trial, which I think is super cool. And you don't have to. You can totally just do your own thing, and there's full strategy to that, because then, you know, if everyone's racing or fighting each other, then you can go pick up all the stat boosts on the rest of the map, and I think that's a really, really cool dynamic to have in place. So it's really cool that they kind of cover that weakness of City Trial, but then, in addition to that, they cover the other weakness of City Trial, which I kind of mentioned, was, even though it's kind of cool that the stadium event is random, sometimes it felt a little weird that you don't know what's coming up. And Sakurai even was like talking about that. He definitely acknowledged that, like, you know, the ambiguity is cool, but also it can be weird. So now they also have something in place where you can vote on which event you want to do at the end of the round. So you get like a little bit of say based on what your stats ended up being, which I think is a super cool idea. It still kind of keeps the ambiguity in place. Like, you don't know for sure if you're going to get the event that you want, but you have a little bit of say into what you can do, but you have to make an educated guess based on the stats that you have. And then if you really, really don't want the ambiguity and you want to play around a City Trial where you're just aiming for a specific stat because you know what the event is at the end, you can pick the event before City Trial starts, which I think in the original one you could preset the event, but this just feels a little more natural based on how it was presented. So it's really nice that they're covering that weakness as well. I'm curious to see how that's going to go online. Like, if you just queue up for a City Trial match, I don't know if you're going to be able to pick those different stadium rules or not. It might just depend on what Nintendo allows, because Nintendo Online modes are notoriously light on options, but I guess we will see. Which also, Kirby Air Ride Online, I mean, I'm excited to play Air Ride Online, but City Trial Online with 16 people, that's going to be awesome. And they made a point of saying you don't even have to wait for everyone to finish their events. Like, if you win, you can just leave. Just keep you in the action. And I think that's a great idea, because that's another kind of weakness, minor weakness of the original Kirby Air Ride, is like, you finish the event, and then it kind of boots you back to the menu, and you have to set the whole thing up again. It is easy to get up and going again, but it's nice to just have a queue to start right again. Stay right in the action, because the game is so fun. It's very addictive. You just want to keep grinding it out, and really, really excited to be playing that game online. And then the end of the presentation had a little teaser with a shadowy figure riding in a CG cutscene, very reminiscent of the World of Light opening. I know I'm not saying anything that everyone else probably isn't saying, you know. To me, that character looked like Dark Matter. If it's not Dark Matter, it's probably an original character, which would be cool. My gut says that's teasing a story mode, which I don't know if I would have ever had that, you know, on my bingo card for what the next Kirby Air Ride's gonna have, a story mode. But I think that would be really cool. And on that note, the game definitely has more to show. The character selection screen has like double the amount of room as there are currently characters there, and there's definitely lots of fan favorite characters that could get thrown on there. Like, for me, my favorite Kirby character is Marks. I know I'm not alone in that. I would love to play as Marks. I'm sure he's going to be in. Whoever that shadowy figure is, if it's Dark Matter, they're probably unlockable through whatever thing that cutscene is for. But, you know, in addition to Marks, they could add in all the different characters. There's so many different Kirby characters that you can add in. They have tons of enemies to pull from, but then they have all of the extra characters that they added to, like, Star Allies, you know? Ritkine and Koo, DeRoach from Squeak Squad or whatever. They could add in Elfilin from Forgotten Land. Like, there's so many different Kirby characters that you can add in, and it just works, you know? So hopefully we're getting lots and lots of characters. Even if this was the roster that the final game had, still an amazing roster. Way, way better than just the 3 characters from the original game. but I'm sure we're going to be getting a little bit more. There's probably more machines to show. They didn't show a lot of the air ride tracks either. There was like 4 or 5, and the original game had like 10, and I feel like we're minimum going to get the amount that the original game had. Even though the tracks are like super detailed and stuff, you know, you got to have more than like 5 tracks. They're definitely going to show more. Sakurai was talking about looking forward to showing off more of the game, so I'm guessing we're going to get another presentation pretty soon. Still holding out hope that maybe Top Ride will be in that presentation, because it was weird that Top Ride didn't get mentioned at all. You know, because the original Kirby Air Ride had the 3 main modes. It was Air Ride, City Trial, and Top Ride. And Top Ride is definitely like a smaller portion of the game. Definitely feels like they didn't need to work on it quite as long. But it's also pretty fun. It has a surprising amount of depth that I discovered when I went to replay it as an adult. And I would love if they brought it back. I feel like it is one of those things that they could just kind of touch on for 10, 15 minutes in a follow-up direct. But if it's not in, that's totally fine. It's definitely not like the star of the show in Kirby Air Ride, but I would love if Top Ride came back. The fact that they didn't even mention it leads me to believe that it probably is in the game, because I feel like Sakurai kind of has the tendency to be pretty upfront about things that aren't going to be in the game. I'm particularly thinking in Smash Ultimate when he said to not expect a lot of newcomers, which obviously didn't really end up being true because of all the DLC. But he also was pretty upfront about there not being trophies in the game. He likes to temper people's expectations a little bit, and I feel like if Top Ride wasn't going to be in the game at all, he would have mentioned it and said that it just wasn't a priority. And since he didn't do that, I'm feeling like Top Ride probably is in the game, and it's going to get a segment in another presentation. That said, if there is going to be another presentation with new content revealed, it's going to be soon, because this game comes out November 20th, which is really soon. I mean, I can't believe that we're getting a new Kirby Air Ride on November 20th. I didn't even think we were ever going to get another Kirby Air Ride. I had long resigned myself to the idea that it was just never getting a sequel, and that all the great ideas that were on there were just stuck in the original. You know, they gave it a shot in the GameCube era, and we're never getting it again. I cried when this game got announced in the Switch 2 presentation a few months ago, so I'm still just kind of riding that initial hype of the fact that we're even getting this game. It was so surreal to watch gameplay of a new Kirby Air Ride, and a Kirby Air Ride that just already looks leagues and bounds ahead of the previous game. I'm just so excited. But yeah, they got to show off that new info soon if they're going to, because the game's coming out in 3 months. I think another thing that would be good to show off is like the checkbox system, if there is going to be one. That's one of the best things, honestly, about the original Kirby Air Ride, is that all the different modes had their own checkboxes, and you can use them to kind of, quote-unquote, complete the modes. There was always something to be working towards. Some of those checkboxes are pretty diabolical. Some of them are really difficult. Some of them completely rely on luck. I still haven't gotten every checkbox in the game. I'm planning on doing a couple streams sometime in the near future to finally fill out the final checkboxes that I'm missing from my childhood save. So go follow Sludgy TSG on Twitch if any of y'all are interested in watching that. I'm sure I'll be trying to get some of those streams up soon enough before the new game comes out. But yeah, it'd be nice to see if they have the checkbox system coming back or something similar. I'm sure there will be something, because that's very much part of Kirby Air Ride's identity. And this was something I really appreciated about the presentation and Sakurai in general. Sakurai really, really knows what makes Kirby Air Ride special, which, duh, he directed the original game, and he created Kirby. But it's just nice to see that all of the stuff that makes the original game so special is still very much intact. Because it's a weird game. It's in many ways a very, very simple kart racer. There's only one button, I mean 2 buttons now, but it was a 1-button racing game, and it was Kirby. It was meant to be pretty approachable. But at the same time, there's a lot of weird things about it. Like the fact that you press that button to stop, kind of weird. City Trial was pretty unorthodox. The fact that you're not racing people, you're going around and collecting stuff. The game's pretty aggressive, it's pretty chaotic, and they're definitely doubling down on a lot of those elements in this game. But I think that's always what's been so appealing about Kirby Air Ride, is that it's very, very approachable because you don't have to press very many buttons to play it. But then once you get going, There's a surprising amount of depth, and there's a lot to do, and it can get really competitive and really chaotic, and that's super, super fun. And it was really, really nice to see Sakurai talking about the game and, you know, very clearly understanding what people love about it. Like when he got to the city trial section, he literally said that it was like the star of the show, which, you know, a lot of people really, really love City Trial, even though Air Ride is still a super fun mode, and the new Air Ride tracks look super, super fun. And I love the normal racing mode in Kirby Air Ride, but he knows that people love City Trial, and he just knows what people love about Kirby Air Ride. And it was also just really nice to see him doing a presentation again. This is kind of separate from Kirby Air Riders, but it's been a little bit since we had the Smash Brothers presentations. Sora came out, geez, 4 years ago? Oh my lord. And, I mean, I guess we had the Sakurai YouTube videos, but I still haven't gotten around to watching those. Definitely been meaning to. I really, really want to watch those, because I watched the first couple that he uploaded, and I really liked them. And people have said great things about all the videos that he was uploading every week. So I definitely want to sit down and watch those, but it's super, super interesting to listen to him talk. He just has a very wholesome spirit about him, you know? But yeah, super, super excited for Kirby Air Riders. I'll probably cover more of the game as we get more information. I'll definitely be streaming it a bunch on Twitch and maybe here on YouTube. I might see if I can figure out how streaming on YouTube works. And I'll definitely be playing a lot of Kirby Air Riders when it comes out. Really crazy that not only we got Mario Kart World this year, but we're also getting a sequel to Kirby Air Ride. And this was right after Donkey Kong Bonanza, which I still haven't even talked about on this channel, but I think I'm going to make a little video going over my thoughts on that game, which, spoiler, fantastic game, but you probably already knew that. And this is on top of the fact that the Forgotten Land DLC is coming out soon. Like, what, next week? Yeah, as of me recording this, it's coming out in 9 days. So, Kirby fans, we're eating. I haven't looked at anything for that DLC because I kind of just want to go in blind. I'm not expecting it to be super long, but, you know, new Kirby's new Kirby. Lots of cool stuff to enjoy right now if you're a Nintendo fan. Except for, like, Drag X Drive. That doesn't look very fun. I haven't tried it yet. But yeah, I'm definitely going to keep covering Nintendo stuff as it happens. I've been pretty busy. Just the last couple of years even, but I've definitely wanted to get into more talking about different games and stuff. Talking about Nintendo games especially. So if we get more info on Kirby Air Riders enough to make a video on, I'll definitely do some coverage on it. But yeah, super, super excited for the game. I hope that everyone else is as excited as I am. I really hope that this game brings in a lot of new fans for Kirby Air Ride. You know, maybe it doesn't get everyone to check out the original game. I don't think the original game sold quite as well. I bet there's going to be a lot of people picking up this game that did not play the original, which I think is great, honestly. I was thinking about it, and I feel like that's the reason the game is called Kirby Air Riders instead of something like Kirby Air Ride 2, because they don't want to present it as if, like, you need to be familiar with the original game, because this very much is, it kind of just is the original game, but refined and done to perfection, you know? They're not adding tons of new crazy stuff, not that we know of yet. They're just taking what was already there and then just adding a bit of connective tissue to it all, which I think is what Kirby Air Ride really needed. And I've been buzzing about it all day. I was so distracted at work looking at all this stuff. I've been messaging all my friends. I have lots of friends who are really into Kirby Air Ride, and we've just been talking so much. Real excited to play it with them, and I'm just rambling at this point. We all know it looks great. You probably watched the presentation. If you haven't, go watch it. Kirby Air Ride's very much worth your time. There's a bit of a kind of a learning curve to it all, but if you put in the time, it's definitely worth it. And I'll finish off with that saying, even the original's worth your time before this new one comes out. God, I need to play this game.